This week on Painting Lines.
Tennis players are the best athletes in the world. Tell me why I'm wrong. Musetti kicking the ball at the ball kid. Do you think that he should have been defaulted here? Could this comeback from Alcaraz be the greatest in tennis history?
Ready?
Welcome back to another episode of Painting Lines. The clay season has officially come to an end, and what a way it did. Last week, we touched on the first half of Roland Garros, and today we'll be covering the second week of the tournament. And I'll tell you what, it did not disappoint. I mean, we saw Bublik and a pair of Americans make a quarterfinal run. That was pretty unexpected. Then we saw a controversial Musetti incident that people are saying should have defaulted him. We'll talk about that. And then the longest ever Roland Garros final, a 5.5 hour comeback thriller that Alcaraz orchestrated. Absolute battle. But first, feel free to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the pod. It's the best way to show your support and helps us get our name out there. All right, Aidan, let's start off with a hard hitting question, no pun intended. Could this comeback from Alcaraz be the greatest in tennis history?
Uh, I knew you were going to ask this question, and I think in reality the answer is yes, because while people may have their favorites from the past, and people, it's tough to consider the present like, oh, this is the best ever, as much as people will say it. But I think it is. You look at other matches in recent history that come to mind are the 2021 Roland Garros final, where Djokovic was down, looked like he was out against Tsitsipas, and then just battled his way back into it. The Australian Open final in 2022, where Medvedev was up 2 sets against Nadal, and then Nadal was able to come back there. And then obviously you have more further back ones like the 2004 Roland Garros, where there were actually match points against Gaudio, and then he was able to come back and win the match. So yes, those were matches that were tough. And with the Gaudio one, it was a match point down situation. But here, I think you look at the reality where there are a few things that separate this match from those ones. Uh, First up is the quality of the opponent. I think when you compare it to Medvedev and Tsitsipas, those guys were obviously incredibly good and they were playing very well at that time. But you look at Sinner, he is the consensus number one player in the world right now, and had won 20 straight sets going into this match, or rather through the first 2 sets of this match, he won 20 straight, including his 6 previous matches. And then Alcaraz took the third in the final. It was the first set he lost in the tournament. Second, I would say how close Sinner came. He had 3 match points at 5-3 in the third, or 3 serving 5 in the third. And then even once Alcaraz was able to somehow miraculously survive in that game, Sinner then served for the match, but wasn't able to convert it. And Alcaraz was able to battle back and win that fourth set. And then finally, I think just the level of play during the comeback, because Sinner didn't completely disappear. Yes, he did have some moments where it seemed like he started overhitting on his forehand a little bit, and his first serve really just wasn't there for a lot of the time. But at the end of the match, Alcaraz still had to put him away with some magical shots that most people obviously couldn't have created. I mean, one that stood out to me was at 5 serving 6 with Alcaraz serving. Alcaraz hit this serve, and Sinner hit maybe the perfect return, put it on the baseline in the corner, full stretch for Alcaraz, and Alcaraz somehow hit a slice that went all the way back across the court to the other corner and put Sinner on his heels, and then Alcaraz was able to step in and take the point. So the level of play, the level of opponent, and how close Sinner came, I think all of those factors combined to make this, yes, the greatest comeback in tennis history.
So, did you not include the 2023 Cincinnati Open because it's not a Grand Slam? Like
Yes,
Djokovic coming
yeah.
back on
I
Alcaraz?
think when you look at a 2 set comeback, it's always going to be almost always going to be better than coming back from down 1 set. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And I do think even if Sinner won this match, it probably still would have been considered the greatest comeback. The ability to come back after being up and then down. You know what I mean? I think it's equally impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point it would have been really more, to me. It wouldn't be have been a comeback as much, because it would have been obviously he was leading, but I think it would have been one of the greatest displays of mental strength, for sure, to have had those match points, had those opportunities to win the match, and then go down and then come back again.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it was the first game in the fifth set. It looked like Sinner pulled up injured, like something with his knee or a leg cramp. I thought the match was over right then and there, and then Alcaraz was up a break. But Sinner was able to break back, which put this, I guess, just up the intensity, had me even more on the edge of my seat, and then forced it to a breaker. So
Yeah.
just
I
the,
mean, the
you
fact
know,
that Alcaraz, he got the chance to serve for the match,
mhm.
and that was when Sinner broke back, just added to the drama of it.
Right. I think they showed that stat, one of your favorite stats, something like an hour and a half since match point, since the
Oh
last
yeah,
match
yeah. I think it
point.
was like an hour 45 too. Yeah, it
It's
was
such a
insane.
brutal stat. So, what do you think about the three match points that Sinner had? Do you think he blew it, or do you think Alcaraz kind of like battled back and won those?
I think it was a combination of both, to be honest. I think with the first one, Alcaraz was able to battle through the point, but then you look at the second match point he had, where Alcaraz hit a second serve, Sinner jumps into a backhand and just hits it long, and it's an easy shot, to be honest, for him, not for like the average person, but for the world number one. It's an easy shot. He should have probably put Alcaraz on his heels in the point and set himself up to win the match, and instead he just puts it long. And then I think he just started overthinking it. And I think he got a little bit tight on his shots after missing two match points in a row. And I think that kind of gave Alcaraz a little bit of confidence. I feel like what happened in the match, to be honest, was you saw Alcaraz, he was behind. And at the end of the match, he didn't tighten up really, but he did start playing more within himself. He was like, I'm not going to go for as crazy of shots. Maybe if he was forced to, he went for them. But from the ground strokes, he wasn't necessarily going for the craziest stuff, which is insane to say given how the match went. But I think Sinner started overhitting a little bit, and then he was tight, and so he was thinking too much. And Alcaraz forced him to think, and he was like, "I'm just going to make you win these points, and then if you give me an opportunity, I'm going to seize it."
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and then once he started going back up and he got the momentum, Alcaraz got a little bit loose. Like I was saying to you when we were texting about the match while it was happening, he started to get a little bit more loose. And then he got a little overly loose. And I think that's where Sinner kind of was able to rebuild some momentum at the end of that match. So I think in the moment with the three match points, Sinner did have a great opportunity. And it's hard to argue he didn't blow it. But you also got to give Alcaraz credit there.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like Alcaraz plays better when he's coming from behind. Because remember, the first couple sets, it seemed like he came out flat. He had the issue with his eye. I think some dirt got in his eye, and he just kind of went down pretty easily. It kind of felt like it was very one-sided. And then,
Yeah, I
as
mean,
everyone says,
I think there's an argument to be made there though, right? Like Alcaraz wasn't. It wasn't like Sinner was dominating all of his service games, so Alcaraz was getting chances. I mean, in like the first game, I think Alcaraz had three or four break chances, and he was pushing Sinner. He just wasn't getting it over the edge, right? He wasn't. He didn't break him super in the first game, and then he wasn't able to hold on to the break once he got it.
yeah, maybe not like laser focused. He definitely wasn't flat because you're right. He did have, double-digit break opportunities in the first set. But I think he just felt so comfortable that he's like, hey, this is a best set of five. I could go down a set. I can go down two sets and I'm not worried. Like
Yeah,
it just kind of was like the lack of awareness of like, hey, I don't need to perform right now. It's almost like he was getting his nerves out, getting the jitters out in the beginning and then
yeah,
saving them for the rest of the match.
yeah. I guess being able to maintain confidence when you're losing and when you go down a set is pretty next level, to be honest.
Oh, 100%. Let's talk about the missed call in the last set. We had a Carlos Alcaraz serve that was not called out, but in fact was about an inch out. Sinner ended up playing the point out, but then after went to the ref and was like, hey, come on, what was that? And unfortunately, kind of got screwed there. And this begs the age old question. Roland Garros is the only slam to not use Hawkeye. What do you think about that? Like, why are they not adapting to this new technology when there's so much human error, especially when this is on the line.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was weird. I know there was another point too where I think Alcaraz like hit it long and then they corrected it to in, and Sinner was like, "Oh, that was in," and then the Hawkeye said it was out. So
Hmm. Yep.
that's a weird one where almost the opposite. It's like the umpire and the player say it was in, but the Hawkeye said it was out, as opposed to the the umpire and player saying it's in or the out and the chair ref saying that it's in, I guess. But
Yeah.
the thing that stands out to me here is like it. I don't understand why they don't use it. Maybe the reason is this: is you look at situations with like that Zverev where he took the picture of the mark, right? I believe Hawkeye said the ball landed in, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it feels as though because Hawkeye is based on, I believe, sort of a simulation of where they believe the ball will hit based on its spin and all this stuff, and it's pretty accurate. There are times where if you can see the mark, that's the definitive mark of where the ball bounced, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess what I'm hearing is there's really no 100% way if you go Hawkeye or if you go human eye, right? Like both are subject to error.
Yeah, and I think what their argument is, right, is that if it makes a mark on the clay and you can see where the mark was,
Hmm.
then you have a 100% certainty of this is where the ball touched the ground, and if you can go and check that, then you have the for sure where the ball hit, rather than basing it off of a simulation of where it's gonna hit, which is more effective maybe on a hard court or grass court where it doesn't make a mark.
Hmm. But yeah, pretty classy of both players to kind of overrule what the umpire said. I know Alcaraz did it a couple times when Sinner hit a ball which was called out, but then Alcaraz overruled it himself and said it was in.
I feel like you just want it to be kind of standardized across all the tournaments where either they all have the Hawkeye or they all don't have the Hawkeye. And the fact that Roland Garros stands out and doesn't use it, I guess makes it unique, but it feels like it can hurt the players sometimes.
So let me ask you this. Could Alcaraz, on that missed call with Sitter where he played out the point, could Alcaraz have said, like, hey, I want to replay that point if it was out? Or is that not by the rules?
I'm not sure at that point. I don't know if there's a rule about a player just deciding to replay a point.
Yeah. Because I feel like if he could, he would. But at that point in the match, he's maybe like, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I mean, I think to be honest, what they should do is just use Hawkeye, and then if someone sees a mark and they're like, "That was a bad call by Hawkeye," they can just show the chair umpire, because the chair umpire still comes down every once in a while to look at the mark, right? So
Yeah. It should be a combination of both. I agree.
yeah, I think it should be a combination of the chair umpire and the Hawkeye, and not necessarily the like
The
line
lines.
officials.
Mhm. Yeah. I know. Because there are some late calls too, like
Hundred
very
percent,
late.
yeah.
All right. Is it safe to say that the torch has officially been passed? I mean, I feel like this was the perfect transition. We had the Rafael Nadal ceremony honoring him in the beginning of the tournament, and then this epic final that hopefully will be the future of tennis for the next decade or so. And then Djokovic making it to the semis, but just not being able to hang with these players anymore. I just feel like this is like the perfect storm of like, all right, we are officially entering a new era.
Yeah. I mean, 100% the torch has been passed. And I'm not sure which person on the commentary team said this. It might have been McEnroe, it might have been Courier, but they had a great quote, which was that like we keep talking about the future, like, oh, these guys are the future. We got to appreciate that these guys are going to be next up. But he's like, we really have to change that. Like, these guys are the now. Like, stop talking about 5 years from now and appreciate like these moments, these matches that we're going to have. These guys have won the last six majors in a row now. So we should appreciate that these guys, this may be their prime. We don't want to look to the future and be like, oh, in 5 years, they're going to be in their prime. Right now, they're winning all the majors. They're the best two players in the world. Let's just stop talking about the future and start talking about the now.
Yeah, it's pretty insane how separated they are from the rest of the tour, right? It's like these two players, at least when it was the big three, big four, you kind of had less of a separation, I would say, in the top 10. Now it's clear drop off between one and two.
Yeah,
Or
or
sorry,
between
one,
yeah,
two, and the rest of the tour.
yeah, 2 and 3, I guess.
Two and three, exactly.
But I also kind of like Courier's name that he gave them, which was the new two.
Ooh, all
I'm
right.
like, that's pretty smooth.
The new two era.
Exactly.
But what a final. I mean, I want to read a tweet that Marty Fish put out. He said, tennis is the toughest sport in the world. No clock to run out, no timeouts to call, no subs to come in for you, no one to sit there and tell you what to do. This is as good as it gets, guys. And then Roddick also came out on social media, posted a video, basically said, tennis players are the best athletes in the world. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many aspects of tennis that make it unique. It's like it has almost as difficult, if not more difficult, than the top other mental games like golf or sports like that, where it's really tough to just be locked in. You're the only one out there. No team. That always is a contributor. So that makes it more difficult. And there's so many strategic things you have to think about. There's so many physical things you have to think about. You have to think about what your opponent's going to do. And just the fact that, like you said, it's a 5.5 hour match. There's no sport like it where the endurance factor is combined so intensely with the sprinting and twitch motion agility that you need for tennis, especially at the top level. So I gotta say I'm on board with Roddick's comment there.
Yeah, and just kind of going off that, the 5.5 hour match, like Roddick said, an NBA game is 48 minutes. You know, you have timeouts, you have teammates, you have halftime, you have the end of the quarter. Like tennis, you don't know when the match ends, right? It's not determined by the clock, it's determined by the score. And I just saw so much appreciation for tennis after this. Like everyone took to social media, basically showing gratitude. I feel like everyone was very nervous after the big three era that, tennis wasn't going to live up to whatever it was. And then this was just so reassuring to people. And I just saw so much love for tennis. Like I had people texting me during this match that I didn't even know followed tennis or even knew how to watch the TNT stream
Yeah.
for Roland Garros who were like, oh my God, this match is crazy. This match is crazy. And I'm just thinking like, this is awesome because it's putting not only new eyeballs, but people who may have like stopped watching tennis years ago back into it. People are falling back in love with the sport, and it was just great to see.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like this is the type of match that you show to people to say, this is why tennis is great.
Hmm. Yeah, and it couldn't have played out even better, right? I mean, we had Alcaraz number two, Sinner number one, facing off against each other. Both were undefeated in slams before too. And then there were other stats too that were pretty interesting that the commentators were saying like something had to give, right? It was, I think Alcaraz has never won a match being
Yeah.
down two sets. And then the other was what? Sinner's never won a match longer than like 4 hours.
Was I talking to you about this or my brother? I
I
I
think your
I
brother.
I thought it was really interesting because it went from very much like you were saying, it got flipped. It was
Yeah.
like going into the final, it was like, okay, one of these guys is going to lose their zero. One of them is going to have a loss in a Grand Slam final. And then after a certain point in the match, it was the opposite. Like you said, it was like, okay, now one of them is going to be able to do this for the first time. Alcaraz has never come back from down 2 sets to love. Sinner's never won a match over 4 hours. So it was like it went from okay, who's gonna give to who's gonna rise to the moment.
Yeah. And you just got to feel for Sinner, man. Like that was heartbreaking. I'm not gonna lie, I did want Alcaraz, but I feel like 9 times out of 10, I root for Sinner in these cases. I just would have hated myself if Sinner won because in the bracket challenge, I stupidly picked Musetti over Alcaraz. And if I hadn't done that and Sinner won, I would have won the bracket. So in order to not feel petty, I was like, I need Alcaraz to win.
Yeah.
So I was rooting for Alcaraz, which made the first two sets very stressful. And then the next three, actually, I was just like elated, like rooting
Well,
for
I mean,
Alcaraz.
what about in the fourth set when he was down 3 match
Oh
points?
my God. I know. I actually got up to brush my teeth because I was planted to the couch that whole morning.
Oh,
I got
crazy.
up to
Yeah.
brush my teeth on the first match point. And then I was like, I should probably come back just in case the match ends and I like want to see it. And I'm like sitting there with toothpaste like drooling out of my mouth,
Like,
like, oh my
what is
God. I like
happening?
refused to go back to the bathroom until the set or the game was over.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, also though, speaking on the athletes thing, I think that kind of shows why sort of the international sports are what they are. It is because they have endurance. I feel like in American sports, it's so much we value like that explosiveness. And that's why basketball is just so, it has a little bit of endurance. You're running up and down the court, but it's like what makes people excited about basketball is like the dunks and the
Mhm.
explosive moments. Same thing with football. Football is the greatest example of it, right? It's like
Yeah.
you play for 8 seconds and then you take a 25-second break.
Yeah.
Whereas tennis, it's like you have to continue to do those. You have breaks, but it's like you're doing it for 5 hours instead of for 1 hour.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I feel like, well, with tennis, there is a lot of downtime too. Like, I feel
It's
like
true.
the major, like 80% of the match, you're not actually playing, right? But that's why it's such a tough mental game.
Yeah, yeah, because you have to stay locked in during those down
Mhm.
moments.
And something you said about like the American sports being more about like explosiveness and like quick reactions. I feel like that's reflective in how Americans play tennis, right? It's the big forehand hitting. It's like the explosive shots. It's, trying to hit winners on every shot, not necessarily taking a step back, crafting points, playing defense, and letting your opponent make a mistake because that's just not as entertaining as blasting a winner.
Yeah, 100%. I
Just
agree.
drawing some parallels, yeah. And then another thing I wanted to address, speaking of basketball, did you see Dirk Nowitzki was in
Yeah,
attendance?
and Tony Parker, I think. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. I know. I'm pretty sure Dirk is into pickleball now, though.
Oh,
So
well, that's a
yeah.
letdown. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, that about covers the final. Let's talk about some other things that happened during Roland Garros. How about Musetti kicking the ball at the ball kid? I mean, he got a lot of heat online. He even got it from Francis Tiafoe too in the match, saying to the ref, like, hey, is he not defaulted? As we all know, what was it, 2021, 2020 US Open, Djokovic, when he hit the lineswoman with the ball, he got defaulted.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's really the same here. What do you think? Like, do you think that Musetti should have been defaulted here because Djokovic was defaulted at the US Open?
I got to go back to my classic argument, right? Two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah, I don't think Djokovic really should have been defaulted in that scenario. Obviously, it was a sticky situation. He made a mistake and he paid the price for it. But I think that doesn't mean it's right for Musetti to get kicked out here because of a mistake that doesn't hurt anybody, to be honest. So I definitely on the don't kick him out sort of situation, sort of side.
I agree with you. I don't think Musetti should have been disqualified here. I just think it was different. I think Djokovic hit the lineswoman a little harder than Musetti kicked at the lines judge or the ball girl.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think even Djokovic hit it that hard, but like still, it was definitely harder than you can hit it harder, let's say, with a racket than you can by kicking the ball.
Well, you know what it
So
was? You know what it was? So the lineswoman that Djokovic hit just dropped as if she got like sniped in the neck, whereas
yeah,
the lines judge that Musetti hit with the ball just stood stone cold, acted like nothing even happened.
yeah.
So I feel like it was all in the reaction to
It's
it.
also like the age of the person, right? Like the
Yeah.
lineswoman Djokovic hit was like an older lady, so she's gonna
Yeah.
have a bigger reaction from that than like a ball kid might.
So how about now Bandian kicking the lines judge and making him bleed?
Yeah, that's definitely a lot worse than what Musetti did. I gotta say that, but
Yeah.
yeah, overall, I think we're in agreement. Musetti definitely was. I mean, it's hard to say in the right, but like he wasn't in the right, but he also should not be kicked out for that.
Yeah, it's also Musetti. Mussetti's such a likable guy too. Like people are more willing to forgive him, whereas Djokovic was in the middle of his villain arc at that point. I think he was like public enemy number one. It was during the whole COVID scandal where he was.
Exactly, yeah. Like I think they weren't didn't even want to be playing in that tournament
Yeah.
because they were like, his COVID stance. So they were just looking for any chance it feels like to get him out of the tournament.
Oh yeah. And then talk about his fans right now though. They are very passionate and it's basically them versus the world. So I think they were really wanting Musetti. They thought it was a double standard. They thought that all things equal, like Djokovic just got disqualified because it's Djokovic. But
Yeah.
I feel like it should be left up to kind of the judgment of the
Yeah, and
ref, right?
I think even whether that's true or not, like whether it did happen just because of Djokovic, I don't like it. Always goes back to like what I said at the beginning: two wrongs don't make a right. It doesn't bring Djokovic back into that U.S. Open because you're kicking Musetti out now.
Yeah, 100%. All right, I got an interesting question for you, Aiden. On the women's side, we saw a wild card who was ranked in the 300s make a semifinal run here at Roland Garros. Do you think that that could ever happen on the men's side? Like, I don't think a wild card made it past the second round this year.
Yeah, I don't think it's about as close to impossible as I could imagine, right? I would say about 99% it can't happen because I think the difference in skill level between a number 300 ranked woman or a 350 ranked woman to the top level of women just isn't as big of a difference as it is on the men's side. Because I was looking at this, uh, obviously looking at her run, and I was checking on her UTR, which is a rating system that goes based on their past matches and evaluates their skill level compared to other players. For this woman, Boisson, I don't remember the
Yeah,
exact
Boson. Mhm.
pronunciation, but I believe she was about an 11 plus UTR, and the top level women like Coco Gauff, who ended up winning the tournament, are like 12 plus UTR. So about a one separation in their UTR, which based on my examination online says the lower ranked person should lose about 6-3, 6-3, right? So relatively competitive, but they should lose. It should be about one break each set. On the men's side, if you look at someone ranked in the 350s versus a top 15 player, I did the comparison of like a guy number 347 to Karen Kachanov. It's like a 2 UTR difference. So the expectation there is that the higher ranked person will win 6-0, 6-0. Like it won't even be a competitive match. For a man to do that from the round of 128 to beat consistently these top level men, they would have to win 3 sets against someone that they were expected to lose almost every game against. So I just think that that separation difference is massive. And I also think it comes down to just the guys at the top level have like a next level of shot that someone ranked 350 probably can't deal with. Whereas on the women's side, it feels as though it's more strategy and it's more about getting the right angles. Obviously, they do have great shots at the peak level, but a lot of the time you see less super rapid points in women's tennis. Whereas in men's tennis, if you just can't return someone's serve, you can't return their serve.
Right. I'll say this, it definitely made for some entertaining storylines because I mean she's a French wild card too. So it's just how awesome is that in your home slam to be ranked, I don't know, mid 300s, 350 and then make a semifinal run. And I think she like quadrupled her prize money for the year, which was great.
Yeah,
Imagine
100%.
Ethan Quinn on the men's side making a semifinal run.
Yeah,
It's just not possible.
yeah, and the last thing I'll say is we did almost get an example of this a couple of weeks ago, right? With Carousel making it into the main draw in Geneva, or I think it was Geneva, where he played
Mhm.
Morojan, and he lost like 6-1, 6-2. So Morojan, kind of known for inconsistency, and is only also ranked about maybe around number 50 in the world, and Carousel is higher than number 350, and it was still not a competitive match.
Yeah, that's a great point right there.
But alrighty, I think that about wraps up our discussion of the French Open. So you ready to hop into segments here?
Yep, let's do it. Hey guys, before we jump in, we have some exciting news. We recently partnered with TruePro. They're a great place to buy strings, grips, and tennis apparel. Use discount code Painting Lines, that's one word, for 20% off store wide. You can find the link in our bio.
Sounds good. What's new in tennis? What did you see this week?
So I just wanted to bring up some prize money stats from Roland Garros because obviously the economic side of tennis very interesting, especially with all the controversy about the top 100 guys being able to make a great living, whereas the rest of professional tennis players do not. So Alcaraz walked away with $2.9 million for winning Roland Garros. Sinner, 1.4 mil for being a finalist. Djokovic Musetti, semifinalist, 786,000. And then for quarterfinals, Zverev, Bublik, Paul, and Tiafo walked away with 400K. So Tommy hopefully will not have his truck repoed again after that.
Yeah. Uh, I definitely think it's interesting to bring up, like you said, when you consider that other players in like the top 200, like Alcaraz in one tournament there makes as much as all of the guys ranked from like 200 to 300 doing the entire year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
It's crazy when you think about it like that.
it's pretty insane, but definitely interesting to look at that. I mean, Alcaraz and Sinner, even the separation there, right? Like you double your prize money for winning one match.
Yeah. How about you? What did you see this week?
We just talked about women's tennis, but an interesting thing about this tournament was that the men's and women's side kind of mirrored each other, especially in the final when you got both of the number one and number two seeds in the final. And it's actually been 5 years since this happened on the men's side at Roland Garros. So I wanted to ask you, Eric, who do you think it was 5 years ago in that French Open final?
Well, I can tell you one of them was definitely Rafa.
So a good pick. And who was the other one? Who would have been?
It was
Who would
either
have been?
Fed
Yeah,
or Djokovic. This is 5 years ago.
yeah, 5 years ago.
Djokovic.
Oh, there we go. Nailed it.
Hey, let's go. What
Yeah,
about on
that
the
was
women's
the
side?
right in the fall too, because it was a COVID year, so it was delayed.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even in the summer.
Yeah, it was a weird one, but yeah, the Djokovic and Nadal was the last time it was the 1 and 2 seeds meeting in the final here. But interesting to see how this happened on both sides. I feel like it's not super common that you see that where it happens with both the men and the women. But also, you got the number 2 seed getting the upset in the final, and both had comebacks. Both of them had in the women's obviously down 1 set, and then in the men's it was down 2 sets. So interesting to see those comparisons.
Yeah, while we're on what's new, I feel like both these matches, like you said, had similar outcomes, but the aftermath of the match is very differently. Like Sinner kind of handled his business with class, whereas Sabalenka, not so much. She kind of went after Coco Gauff, not really went after Coco Gauff, but she basically chalked it up to like Coco didn't really deserve to win. It was mostly Sabalenka who made 70 unforced errors. And, I'm not going to get too much into it, but I just think not the best thing to say after losing a match.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of when players
Yeah. It's such a
immediately are like
Zverev move.
give,
She took
giving
a
an
play right out of his playbook.
yeah, always not the best to give an excuse right after the match. You want to maybe be like in the moment you give them the props, and then if you want to make an excuse, make it like a month later when you're playing in your next final and you say, well, last final I played, I didn't play up to my standard, I had 70 unforced errors, but hopefully I can play better this time, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah,
Then you're
exactly.
making your excuse for then. Don't make it in the moment and take away from the person that just won.
Yeah, definitely. And Sinner could have easily complained about the call, the missed call, and all the other stuff that happened, and he just didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how about bet of the week? Who are you taking?
I'm going with a bet where it's more about who the person I'm betting on is playing against, and that's O'Connell plus 120 over Manarino. I mean, Manarino hasn't won a tour level main draw match since Houston. And I specify like that because he has won challenger matches and he has won qualifier matches, but hasn't won a tour level main draw match since Houston, which was a few months ago. And he didn't even make it through the qualies in this tournament. He's a lucky loser. And while Manarino did win their only head to head matchup, it was 3 years ago when Manarino, I think, was at a significantly higher level than he is now.
Man, so you're just picking on Manarino these days, huh?
Pretty much. Yeah. How
He's the
about
new
you?
Rublev.
Kind of. Or my new
Well,
part of your bet.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm also picking on the usual. So I'm taking GMP, Giovanni Mteshi pair card over FAA. He's plus
Exactly.
140.
There we go. I knew it
Yeah.
was coming.
I was like scrolling. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. But
You're
I
like
feel this
FAA
is-
with the favorite. Okay, I know. How I'm going
yeah,
against.
exactly. So like that's one side. The other is just GMP on grass. I feel like that serve is going to be unreturnable.
Yeah, I
The serve
definitely
+1, even
exactly.
like his freaking powerful ground strokes too. I feel like he
Yeah,
doesn't really hit with that much topspin either. He kind of hits it flat, so it'll just skid right off the grass.
yeah. Not going to be fun for FAA to play against.
Yeah, I know. Unless he can D up.
Something. And then how about match of the week? Yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much are in agreement about that one, right?
Yeah, I don't think there really needs to be anything said on the match of the week. We
Yeah,
all know what it was, and we just spent the first 20 minutes talking about it.
exactly. This whole episode's a match of the week.
Exactly. Hopefully we got another one in Wimbledon. What if we're all getting spoiled here? We're all thinking every Grand Slam is going to be like this.
Yeah, and then the next one's just going to be like super one-sided.
Alcaraz is going to lose first round.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and that's the show. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Painting Lines Podcast. Feel free to shoot us a DM or email us any questions or thoughts at paintinglinespodcast@gmail.com.